What's up, wrestling card collectors and all kinds of wrestling memorabilia, whatever it is you want to do. It's like that. We got a hot topic today. Paul, Chuckster, myself. We're talking about today whatever happened to food issued cards, man. Like, what happened to them? They went away,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, very interesting subject. Very happy to be here. The three amigos, WTCtv hot topic, with the
Nice.
Godfather Tony Vela, with the Chuckster Charles Davies, and myself. I don't have a nickname, but maybe Pet calls me an ambassador. I kind of like that. But you know,
That's a fitting title for you. That's a very fitting title for you.
here's something. We're going to be talking a lot of ice cream with Chuck and his quest in a bit. But here's something I noticed that we were just talking about before we came on. We had lots of stuff in the late 90s, food-wise, wrestling card food product. We had the Swansons and we had the Carnations and some really, iconic sets. And then, of course, we had the ice cream cards that went from late 80s through the 90s. And that's what we're going to be talking about the most. But by the time we hit 2010, they kind of dry up. You don't see near the proliferation or companies. Now, funny enough, Chuck, one of those Japanese sets we just put out came from a restaurant, and there was a Hardee's release in 2019, and the Zimas, that's another Japanese one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that's about it. And then, you go way back 2010, then you've got a release like a Popeyes or something coming out not several a year, but pretty much every year. You can go onto the Price Guide site and search by food cards, and you can see the dates, and you can see where they mostly came. So my question is whatever happened? How come, there was a time where Rack's roast beef and those kinds of things were like real popular. Now they've disappeared. Let's start there. Let's get your opinions on that, and then we'll talk specifically about Chuck's Ice Cream Cart Quest.
Oh, me. I don't know what the reason would be, but it's sorely missed. I can tell you that. I think it was always a cool little add-on to especially for products to try to get you to an incentive to buy their products like that. Especially if your demographic is going to be towards wrestling fans and collectors like that. I mean, why not? I mean, I'm surprised there hasn't been a Slim Jim trading card set, to be honest with you, or something of that nature, where hey, obviously our big mascot's been Macho Man. Now it seems to be LA Knight and whatnot. Having trading cards to coincide with their products, but it's it was fun back in the day, getting the little Hostess Munchie sticker cards and stuff like that, and like you said, Swansons and the Carnation stuff. It was just always fun to track that kind of stuff down. When I first started collecting in the '80s and early '90s, discovering these things were like, what? I could eat stuff and get cards on top of that. That's kind of fun, but it's just gone now, and I think it's something that's being missed. It's such a low cost to print type thing for marketing for manufacturers, for promotions, for whatever it may be. And it's just a fun thing to get people to want to buy your products, probably to go and collect. I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah.
Bring them back, people.
It's just not as popular as it used to be for whatever reason. Whether you're a restaurant or whether you're a food manufacturer, that's just, there's still tie-ins, obviously, across the board with many entertainment products, but wrestling, for whatever reason, or WWE specifically, is not getting the love in the food world like we used to.
I mean, they seem to put their attention towards stuff like, Dave and Buster's game things. You get these game cards and things like that, um, you know, or like the crane game type things like that, playing in arcades, and they have those kinds of stuff. I don't know how we just sort of matured towards, oh, forget the food stuff. We're going right to like the other stuff where the kids like. But I think there's a missed opportunity here for a lot of companies. It'd be kind of cool to see an independent company out there, maybe a GCW or something like that, going with some sort of local, you know, uh, homegrown bag of chips or something like that, or whatever. Who knows? It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I remember I used to buy Borden's when I was sitting in the bars buying old bags of chips and popcorn. Borden's put those little stickers inside the bags. I used to
Tag
get
team
those
set.
all the time. And not only just food product, they used to have them on Stridex medicated pads. They used to be Stridex cards. They were on all kind of products. And right now, I feel a big cool release would be to stick them on some kind of cereal box. Everybody buys cereal. And I'm thinking maybe the reason they have stopped or slowed down these products is because of the almighty dollar. I think a licensing issue might be at play here, because look at how the WWE is taken off now and how the prices on WWE stuff is just through the roof. And I'm just thinking maybe maybe the companies don't want to work with the WWE and pay the prices they want to get that. I think that might have a lot to do with product like that not doing them anymore. But I think like you, I agree with you. An indie company would even be great taken off, or TNA. I mean, like Santino Marella just announced yesterday or today, he said TNA is going to be number 2 very soon. And so I just companies like that really deserve some more mainstream recognition. And while I like the earlier stuff I got, I'm like you guys. I don't understand why people just stop, because it was fun. You could actually, if you picked up a box, you could look on the back and see what you're getting and not worry about getting a duplicate. You could look at the box on the back and see the card. Well, sometimes if they stuck them in the box, you wouldn't know. But if they were just a cutout card on the back, you could go in and look at the cereal prices that would fly. The cereal companies would make a mint off of, because people would go in and buy 10 boxes to get all 10 cards.
I agree with Chuckster's evil twin brother with no glasses. I agree with him. So totally.
Well, the one thing that the companies did get right, and there was 3 in particular, was ice cream bars and putting cards in. It started off with a company called Gold Bond for a few years, then it went to Good Humor. It's probably the largest name in small popsicles and ice creams, and then Unilever, which was one of the big manufacturers, and that ran for over a decade. So we're going to turn it over to you, Chuck, and you're going to talk about specifically the ice cream cards, because that they would stand at the sort of top of the list of a consistent food product that the hobby had for a long time, that were highly collectible, still very desirable today. And of course, Chuck, you're going to talk about your recent quest to try and fill in as many of those as you can.
Well, I kind of got back into these again because I was just getting overwhelmed with all the new stuff coming out. I just wasn't having fun collecting anymore. And I wanted that passion back that I used to have. And I know I used to love those ice cream bar cards. So I dug out all the old stuff that I had and started snooping around and putting things together and doing a little history search on them. And actually, they were available for 19 years. They ran for 19 years, from 1988 up until 2007.
2007.
2007. So there was like 4 years they didn't put any out, but overall it was a 19-year span that they did it. And the other reason I got into the hunt for these too is because they were they were popular at the time. I was really into wrestling and going to the big events and going to the pay-per-views and going to Baltimore and DC to see the big shows. And all of these cards featured the wrestlers that I was actually getting to see in person. So that was kind of a connection for me too. But like you're right, Paul, there was 3 different companies that took them over. Gold Bond had them from 88 to 91. And 88 was the very first one. When they come out, they made the first series look a little different from all the rest, I guess, just to designate, hey, this is our first release and we want to do something different. It's like an inaugural set. It had like a yellow border with like a red background on it. They were beautiful looking cards. And it's probably my second favorite year of all of them that they put out. And then, of course, 92, Good Humor took over and they kept them until 2004. And then 2006, Unilever picked them up and they only had them till 2007. Unilever only had like 2 sets. And they are so hard to find. I think I only have maybe 1 or 2 of the Unilevers. They're really difficult. But like I said, I just wanted to get back into the passion of collecting again. And because they were ice cream related, it just made the hunt a little more fun and makes them a little harder to find. But most of them are still pretty affordable, the ones that you can find. The earlier years are easier to find. The later years, mostly the Unilever years, are really difficult to latch on to. But it's just a fun thing to get into. Anybody that's out there that wants to just have a fun hobby to get into and not worry about whether, I'm going to pull this card and I'm going to flip it for a higher. To me, that's what the hobby to me is all about these days. Let's see what I can pull and let's see what I can flip it for. I want to collect just to put something together and say, hey, here's a little history. Here's a history of wrestling on cards, and I've got it in my collection. Nobody else has it, And I'm having a ball with it. But when they ran, and then they did all kind of really neat things with them, because they usually ran them like sets of 12 for several years. A couple of years they only went 10, a couple of years they only went 8, but mostly they had 12 cards per year. And of course, you had to buy the ice cream bar and open the box. You never knew what you were getting because it didn't tell you on the outside. You had to open it up and look inside. And I can't tell you how many duplicates I got over the years, because I ate a lot of those ice cream bars chasing these things. And when they got to about 91, they started giving all of their sets like a theme. Like 91, they called themselves finishing moves, and they would have the wrestler performing whatever their finishing move was. 92 was like their catchphrases. 93 was their greatest moment or their greatest match. 94 was their toughest opponent. 95 and 97, they didn't do any in 96. 95 and 97 was the new generation. The 95 new generation is by far my favorite set. Why? Because everybody in that set was there when I was at the 95 Survivor Series, and I was at the 94 King of the Ring. And between both of those big pay-per-views, all the stars that are in that were at these shows. So I have a really close personal connection with that set too. And it's really weird that they named the 95 and the 97 both new generation. And it took me a while when I started collecting these to know which was because the dates on them are really hard to see because they're very small and down in the corner, and you get magnifying glasses out. I have found the easiest way to tell them apart is that the 97 has like a yellow stripe down the left side of the card, and the 95 one doesn't. That's the only difference I can see in the type of in the card to tell them apart without looking at the dates. And the other neat thing they did was on the 95s, the smoking guns. They normally have 12 cards in a set. Well, they did 13 that year because they put out, for some reason, they put out 3 different variations of smoking guns. And I have 2 of the 3. There's one that I'm still hunting for, but I haven't found it yet. So those are just some of the things that I've discovered along the way. I think one of the sets that we had was a Hulk Hogan. I think it was in the 1990 set. It's the only card that featured Hogan in the non-wrestling persona. He played Rip in the movie No Holds Barred, and they featured him as Rip in the No Holds Barred instead of just being an actual wrestling card. So even though it's considered a WWF card, it's not a wrestling card. So I think that's kind of neat too, to have that in there. Later on, they started putting cutout dolls. They started putting puzzles on the side of the boxes. They've just done so much with that. And I could just see a cereal company doing that now, or Pop-Tarts, or, some kind of a breakfast snack. Just, get these cards back into our collectors' hands, because these ice cream bars have just put the excitement back into collecting for me again. I mean, I said I was just getting so bored, and now I have my passion is coming back again now that we have these back.
I have a question for you, Chuck. Since you've been sort of buying them recently and snapping them up in the last little while, what are the condition of these cards? Because thinking as old as they are, and a lot of times these food cards were mixed in with food, they have a tendency to get handled more and not be quite as mint. On the whole, how's the stuff? Like, I know the ones I sent you, they're going to be nice because they've been cared for. But in general, the ones that you're getting, how are they faring?
Most of them are very good. I would put some in poor to fair because they have like a bent corner, or maybe a little snip off of a corner where because they're perforated on one side because they were in the box and perforations. And if the person didn't perforate it, tear it off properly, it would kind of leave a little chunk. So, but probably 90% of the ones that I've got have been in what I would call good to very good condition. But I've got maybe, I don't know, a handful that have had like a corner nick or a wrinkle on it somewhere. But usually the people I'm buying it from will send me pictures and tell me, hey, we have this bent corner here, and I'll make an offer. Well, will you take this or you take that? And I usually get them because they just want to get rid of them. But yeah, after 19 years and making these things for 19 years, and they've been gone for over 20 years now. yeah, over 20 years they haven't made them. So yeah, they're in pretty good shape.
Do you find uh, take me back here for a second. Back when you used to collect these in the beginning,
Mhm.
like myself, do you recall there being sort of like how do I put this? I'll just do it this way. When I bought a case of that stuff, I bought a case of ice cream bars from my local, you know, truck that went around the neighborhood, and he brought me back a case. The whole case was the same ice cream bars in every single one where I had nothing but Dudley Boys.
Wow.
And I'm wondering, and I never saw anything in my area that was not that. It was always Dudley Boys. Not that I went out looking in different places for them, but even my ice cream guy or the ice cream store that would carry that product, it was always Dudley Boys. And I'm wondering, was that just a SoCal thing? Did they make them like only certain ones, like such and such was in Texas and such was in Florida? Like, did you find that when do you remember that when you first collected? Were you finding different guys?
I do remember that very well because I was working for this one little retail store. I was assistant manager of this retail store, and I had a lot of kids that worked for me. And right up the road from our store, everybody would go up there for lunch and get a sandwich and pick up an ice cream bar just because they knew I wanted the card, and they would buy the card. And they were constantly getting different ones, and I would trade them. Like if I got a duplicate, I'd say, well, here, you can have this one, I'll take that one. So yeah, that little store that I got them from, they always had an assortment of cards in them. So I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, around here I could get quite an assortment of them, and that was back.
Everything I ever got when it came to ice cream cards was always either online or I found a dealer at a local card shop that actually, or not card shop, but a card show. Never found them in a card shop that would have like an assortment of stuff they were just throwing away in their little 10 cent, box. And
Mhm.
but I never found any locally in stores that was different other than what I consistently kept finding, which was
Nice.
always at that time the Deli Boys.
Mhm.
Speaking of geography, Tony, now I can't say this definitively, but at least in Toronto and the Southern Ontario area, and I was active then because I had the record company, so I was across the entire country. I never once up here saw an ice cream bar, a WWE Ice Cream Bar for sale anywhere. I acquired my cards on eBay through the secondary market, but I don't know. I could be wrong on this, obviously, but I don't ever remember seeing that product. Because if I would have seen them, I would have bought them. I would have, hey, wrestling, I would have grabbed. Um,
Very
so
possible it was a US release only thing.
that's the point I'm getting at. I don't think they ever made their way up into Canada, and then perhaps not. I doubt they'd make it across the pond or go anywhere else. It might have been indeed just an American release.
And well, and another. Well, I was talking with one of our members that lives over in the UK here a few weeks ago about them, and he said they were never released over in the UK. They had other food product that had wrestling stuff on them, but there was never an ice cream bar product in the UK. So that
Pretty
much I
likely then. I guess it's pretty likely this was a US based only release type stuff. And that would make sense. That would make total sense. Like that doesn't surprise me.
so and another thing this has confused me from day one when I started doing a deep dive into these things. Remember a couple years ago when CM Punk made his return, and he said, "Where's my ice cream bar?" And
And they
he
made
made,
one for his return, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he made like little ice cream things and handed out, and I have the wrapper with it in. Well, when I started doing this research on checklists, the last year of Unilever, there was a CM Punk card listed on their checklist.
Mhm.
Now, I have never seen it. I can't confirm it other than from what I can find on WTC, which has it listed on the checklist.
Well,
Um,
that check, by the way, just so you know, these checklists outside of what I normally had, what I had in my own collection at the time, because I pretty much had all those at some
mhm.
point in time. And I wish I can go back to the old emails. We had a collector that, and I cannot remember his name to save my life. And I can't go back to the email because the old WTC email address was a Yahoo account. And that account is long gone. And all the saved mails, emails are gone,
Oh,
which is unfortunate. And this gentleman had sent all the information and corrected a lot of things that we had listed incorrectly. So what's listed there is based on what he collected, and he sent images of stuff and showed picture. I mean, so it's pretty accurate what's on there. And I can't imagine that he would just put together a checklist that, you know, didn't feature, it was wrong. I don't know.
So, but well, I'm looking, I'm searching. I mean, I just while I know technically they're supposed to be there, until I can actually see it and confirm it, it doesn't exist until I know it in my heart. But I just thought that was funny that CM Punk, when he made his return, kept complaining about he never got his ice cream bar, and that's why he made them. But yet Unilever, it looks like, might have had a CM Punk one. So I don't know. We'll see.
Not to say that there aren't mistakes in the official record on WTC and price guide and everything else that exists. And if you go to the trading card database, a lot of that stuff comes from us in the first place, anyways. That
Yeah.
made it to there. So it could be or it couldn't be. But the point I'd like to make is, you see how into it we are to try and find out if these things are correct or not. Like, we don't leave it on faith. Tony gets a checklist from a guy that he's kept till this day, but we still question it. We don't know. We only found out the classics weren't classics just a couple of years ago. And tomorrow we might find something else. I mean, we were talking about something that we haven't disclosed to the hobby yet, Tony, that we're aware of, that
Hmm.
this stuff is out there, and we don't put it out there until we can confirm it nowadays. But back then, we were just happy to get the information. So the point is that we're on it. Tony's on it. Chuck's on it. It might exist, it might not exist, but believe me, guys, we'll find out for you, one way or the other.
And if you're someone out there who's listening or watching this and you've got some of these ice cream bar
Please.
cards, first off, reach out to Chuckster. He may need it. Secondly, and you see a discrepancy on either of the sites here, let us know, because and send us some pictures of the stuff. Like, I love to see a CM Punk
Sure.
ice cream card from 2007. I love to see any of those. I mean, there's Carlito's listed in there as Carlito Caribbean Cool.
That's right.
Mhm.
I love to see these cards. We're always constantly trying to update and get the most accurate information out there. That's what separates us, I think, from everybody else out there who's tried to, archive this stuff, which is not very many people, but yeah, we want to hear from people. Every episode, stuff like that. We want to hear what you collected, what you loved about it. Did you collect these when you were younger? Did you just kind of blow these off? Are you like Chuckster right now? You're going back in time trying to, hey, these are cool. I need to get a part of these for my collection. We want to hear the feedback. We want to get the engagement.
I have found out since I've started this, I have realized there are, out of those 19 years, there are 191 different cards. I am up to 132 of them.
That's
So
pretty good.
I am well on my way to getting there.
That's pretty
Um,
good.
the one year, what year was it? Was it 2000 or 2002? It was 2002 when WWE switched. It was WWF, and then they switched over to WWE. They released ice cream bars with the WWF logo, and then they re-released them again with the WWE logo, and they were all the same card except for the Steve Austin card. They had a different picture on the WWE card than they did on the WWF card. And then he left the WWE later that year, so they pulled his out of production. So there's very few Austin cards with the WWF or WWE logo. I
How
have the
nice,
WWF
how
one.
nice would it be to have the two of them? So they can have
Oh
two
my
of them,
goodness.
and then you can frame the two of them, stuff like that. I mean, it excites
I have the
most people,
WWF
but
one. I don't have the WWE one. And there was one year, I can't remember what year it was. Let's see if I have that in my notes. There was a,
Well, that's funny you say that, because on the WTC site, the featured image for the 2002, which had two releases, like you said, that year, is the
Mhm,
Stone Cold card. Both of them, both sets, and they're two totally different sets. I mean, it's the same match. It's Stone
mhm,
Cold versus Kurt Angle, and in
mhm.
one card for the WWF, it shows him putting him in a leg lock, and then in the WWE, it shows him doing a suplex to him.
Mm.
we see that in the WCW autographs. I think it's Horace Hogan or something like that, where they have the two different foil stamps, the WCW logos, and that stuff is fun when you find like
Yep.
prints and double prints and things like that. So Yeah, always, that's as archivists, which the three of us are, probably first and foremost. I mean, we're collectors, you're a store owner, but we take pride in figuring all this stuff out and trying to be. And I guess we should add Armand to the list because he's very, very active on the modern product. All the guys in the Brotherhood, in fact. But we take this stuff very seriously and we try and get to the bottom of this. And it's always fun when we find stuff like this, Chuck.
Here's another fun little thing I found: the 1997 and the 1998 Undertaker card. The picture was identical.
Really.
It's the only time they've ever used a duplicate image on two different years.
How tops of them.
Yeah,
That's a funny thing because when you
got the idea.
when you look at sets, and recently I've been snapping stuff for Instagram, you start seeing, wait a minute, that's the same picture on this card, this card, this card, this card. Like they use the images a lot of times over and over. And I
And
was like,
sometimes in like mm, you know
vastly
huge
different.
gaps in years too,
Yes,
like
and
huge
vastly
gaps in
different
years.
kinds of sets. Exactly. Like I had one that was a chrome and one that was like 6 years later, not a food card, but a game card, same picture. So I was thinking that would be a neat thing to sort of go to the wall and start pulling these diverse cards and posting, okay, the same picture made into different cards along the way. And there's
Yeah,
a
I remember when Panini put out a card set that featured, I think, Kurt Angle riding on the little scooter. That little thing is the same exact picture that Fleer put out for their famous rides
yeah,
back in the Fleer era.
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be fun.
Oh,
So
very
yeah,
cool, man.
yeah, so food cards for everyone out there, like if there's anything you want to comment on, or wanted to talk with Chuck specifically about the ice cream cards because it's sort of been recent that he's been doing this, and he's been a fantastic job. Congratulations, Chuck, on that and what you've accomplished. And thanks for sharing all this information with us. If you weren't spending the time that you were learning about these and breaking it down by year and by this and by that, it'd get lost to history. We just wouldn't know it.
And do you know that the 2002 set was the first time they ever started doing landscape style cards in the ice cream bar cards? Most of them have always been portrait style. It wasn't until 2002 they started doing the landscape style cards. And 1998 was the first time Steve Austin was on an ice cream bar card. 1999 was the first time The Rock was on an ice cream bar card. So if you're hunting those two, those are years you want to find because that's the first time they've ever appeared on an ice cream bar card.
You're free to hunt them down now because Chuck's already has them. So,
Well,
Well,
I believe the Ultimate Warrior's first appearance was on a Quick Roads card.
huh?
correct.
The Ultimate Warrior's first appearance was a food card. It was one of the Quakers.
Oh yeah.
The Rocky Maivia Cardinal Games trivia card. Sometimes we're aware of a Triple H postcard as the Blue Blood that we found out about. So sometimes they
Hmm.
don't end up being in a major wide scale release. They end up being one of these sort of offshoot sets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else out there listening? Let's hear about your favorite food issue. What kind of food issue stuff did you collect? Are you actively pursuing or have in your collection? I mean, I know we want to hear about all of it. Like, what's your favorite food issued stuff that's ever come out?
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Another fun episode. Chuck, thanks for coming on with us and sharing this info. Always exciting to learn.
Let me throw out one little piece of trivia and see if anybody can get this, and see if either two of you can get this real quick. Which wrestler had the most ice cream bar cards? What's your guess?
It's going to be either Hogan or Taker.
You got it.
Yeah, I'd say Hogan.
Undertaker.
Oh,
Undertaker
was
was 11,
yeah, because he's been for so long, right?
and Hogan had 8.
Yeah, well, when you talk about, you said there was 19 years of them, chances are better than average that it's going to be Orton or Undertaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you start going from that time frame, getting that 91 time frame all the way to
Yeah.
2007. Hogan wasn't around beyond that
No,
point like that.
Taker
So
was.
he's only from the 88 to like 90, whatever it is. And then you get, all those different versions of Undertaker over the years like that. Just kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Ted DiBiase had a ton of them too. I mean, we had about 6 of his. He had about 6 of them. So, yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, me and trivia. I love numbers when it comes to these cards and finding all those little quirky things. But like I said, I'm still hunting these cards, guys. There's still quite a few I need. I think I need 59 more.
So you
So
guys go reach out to Chuckster on X. connect with him, see what he's missing. Maybe you can help him out. Let's get that thing finished. I can't wait to the day when you have it finished. We can kind of do a little recap of like maybe do a little recap of your pursuit and all the different avenues you had to go down to find all these great cards.
Absolutely.
But, all right, this is a cool episode, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we got more food product. Anybody knows anybody that's in food manufacturing, put a bug in their ear. We need more food. We need more food product.
All right, guys.
I'm all done. You guys are all done. Great episode, man. Let's wrap it up.
Thanks,
Peace out.
guys. See you all soon.
See you there.